It is Friday, the April 14th. Um, I just felt like noodling there when I turned on the camera. Really didn't have a plan, and E minor popped into my head. So it just happens sometimes. I got a few things to tell you about that. Not a whole lot. I have been sort of wrapped up this week in going through the archives. I mentioned a little bit about this last week, and I've found just a ton of really cool stuff in our old sites. Now, for a long time, we've had Max's stuff, Totally Electric Guitars things available. Finally got all of that available, other than just in packs. So all that stuff is now available, like you can browse it and pick up a lesson at a time if you want. But really got on a path of reviewing the keyboard stuff and the vocal stuff. Last week I mentioned the vocal things. I found a couple of packs of vocal tunes, vocal lessons that my friend Jim, who just told me yesterday he's come down with COVID, but he should be doing fine. We're about to get interrupted by someone looking for a lizard that I'm going to have to go save after this. Go away. Yeah, don't jump up there. The windowsill is closed. Sorry, Ponzu is I'm in his domain, and he's about to be surprised when he tries to climb the wall and find out that the curtain is closed, and he's going to have to turn around. So never mind. Let's see. I was talking about Jim Bruno. Jim, I hope you recover fast. But that also put me on the path of, I got in touch this week with, just actually the last couple days, with two guys who had done a bunch of keyboard lessons for us back when we had totally keyboards, trying to be a happening thing, and it never really took off the way we were hoping. But there's a ton of cool stuff there. So later, by the time you see this, there should be a whole bunch of keyboard packs available. So anyhow, that's what I've been doing, is unfortunately been branching out and leaving my guitar world behind, thinking that partly because I got some requests from some of my students were asking me about whether we had any keyboard stuff there. And I said, yeah, I know we do, but I think it's hard to find. Well, I'm making it less hard to find. So let's see, that is, this week, I shouldn't try to This is such a cool chord progression. This is, of course, Águas de Marzo. I guess my Portuguese pronunciation is pretty weak. No, it's pretty non-existent. But Waters of March. Some really interesting things about that tune. I was not familiar with it till one of my students brought it to my attention. Lisa was really fond of Basha's version of this. And of course, as I started listening more carefully to the albums, I had this on a Jobim album that just had floated in and out a few times when I played it, and it didn't jump out and grab me. But man, it is so cool, especially the vocal version with Tom Jobim, who wrote it, and Ellis Regina. So I hope some of you have had a chance to check that out. And the lesson, boy, there are some serious theory and jazz chords in there. Some are not too bad. A couple of ones that people tend to play in a very difficult way, the E minor, E flat minor 6. There's a much easier way to play it, so don't be afraid of tackling that song. Let's see. Anyway, so that was the big thing that I was working on for the last couple of weeks. I think I gave you a few hints about that I've been messing with it. And anyway, so what else is new? Boy, there were some great suggestions on the forum. Some that were a little out there. I don't think I'm going to do a lesson on Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't think I'm going to do the Larry Carlton lesson as much as it was a cool tune. That stuff is just not doesn't lend itself to solo guitar things, which is kind of my thing. So, and playing that type of jazz, the Larry Carlton stuff, is just requires such a background of improvising and theory and everything else that it's sort of beyond the scope of what's reasonable to do here at Totally Guitars, I think. But the other suggestions, what was in there? Johnny's Garden. I've been thinking about a few other Stills tunes because I realized we don't have nearly as many of their songs. Man, I should do Southbound Train. Anyway, when I used to play, I mentioned in the lesson on wooden ships a month or so ago that my friend Mike Mullins and I used to play that a lot when we were teenagers, and there were a bunch of those tunes that once we got a hold of that album that, oh, I can still see it over there, but it's not within reach. A Very Stony Evening that I think I showed in the lesson. We started doing as many of those tunes as we could that Crosby and Nash did together, because at least their level of guitar playing we were up to. We weren't up to doing the like Sweet Judy Blue Eyes and stuff like that, but at the time, again, we were like 15 and 16. But it was really fun playing tunes like Southbound Train and Military Madness, and I don't think we did Laughing. Anyway, but all the tunes that Crosby and Nash were out doing in the early 70s were really fun for us. Anyway, so in particular, I'm thinking of. Never mind. I'll figure that out. I think I might probably just put it in the wrong key. But let's see, what else was in there? The George Michael tune. That was pretty interesting. I'm not sure it really lends itself very well to, but I will defer to Nesh on that. He's got much more feel for George Michael tunes, and then we'll see about that. The other one, Ben the Luckiest. That was pretty cool. That was a great suggestion, Steve. So. I should have put a post. I should have mentioned in the post there. I think that's one that I'd like you to figure out the chord progression to first. Little one-on-one advice there. Okay, never mind. I think that's all I had to talk. Oh no, I have one more really important thing I got to run by you, and that is the camp. We have the waiting list is getting long on camp. We're kind of overbooked. Well, we're not overbooked yet, but we're booked, and it's making me think that I'm opening up the possibility of doing another camp, like in April of next year, about a year from now. And it would be a little different focus. It'd probably be shorter, just maybe 3 days, and it would be probably smaller, 20 to 25 people, maybe just a couple less teachers. It would be not geared towards performing, which is what our IGC has really come into now. Most people come to this because they've got tunes they want to play. So every night we do an open mic, and that lasts a couple hours, and but I know a lot of people have come and thought, wow, I didn't realize it was so much about playing and getting more comfortable on stage, and that was not it. That's just how it took on a life of its own over the last few years, and that's how it's become. But am entertaining the idea of a shorter one that would be more instructional and more playing things together, learning to play it with a few different people, maybe 6, but probably in a big group at first, and learning to come up with different guitar parts, kind of like on your own. If you're playing with somebody else, figuring out, okay, well, I can capo up the neck 5 frets and play it in a different key, and we'll start sounding like Jim Croce. Maybe, absolutely could happen. So anyway, that's sort of what else has been permeating here. So if anybody has any thoughts on a direction that we could do or focus on. I was thinking more one-on-one instruction. That would be it then, and more playing together is the plan for possible IGC spring in April of next year. So just toying with that idea. If I'd certainly appreciate any feedback. Okay, here's a little bit of a tip. Alternate ways of playing chords. Like right here, I just went into a couple of chords that you might recognize. And just playing them back and forth here, improvising with them, gives me an opportunity to play little different melodies. The chords are just E7 and A7. Let's see, we could go into Feeling All Right. Not with the beat I'm doing here. For What It's Worth. Ooh, the Donovan song, right? If you want to play along and just kind of improvise. Wait, what am I thinking? I was on A. Notes out of the E blues scale would be good here. So these different voicings I'm using, sometimes I'm playing the E7 chord down here, first position, and the A7 there. But what I started with was the E7 out of a C7 shape, up at the 5th fret. The way we played Born on the Bayou and stuff like that. Here's my C7 at 5. And for this A7, what I did, I'm only playing the middle 3 strings of notes that would have been out of the A bar at the 5th fret. The E7 shape there. And so I'm just playing the 2nd string, the 3rd string, and the 4th string. It's shaped like a little D chord on those 3 strings. Now my E up here, bar at the 9th, and my A7 out of the D shapes at the 9th also. Well, I think of it as the 9th. So my E chord here is the higher notes out of the A family of bar chords, 4-string bar at the 9th, reaching a high E and a D, and the A7 would be a D7 shape at 8 and 9. Another chord? Not yet. And even if you forget what chord you're on, when you're doing something like this, just keep the rhythm going. Like if I play wrong chord, who's going to know, right? Oh, you'd recognize that. Okay, I gotta get on with the day. Sorry, this is fun. Hope you're having an okay time listening to me just mess around. I'll be back next week if I can get my hands off this guitar. Sometimes it's just too much fun. Okay, we gotta wrap this up. support. Okay, see you next week.